Have you ever had a game or franchise that you heard was great, but for some underlying reason you just never could get yourself around to giving it a shot? Then you play it and you just kind of stare out your window, sipping a coffee, wondering what else you've missed in life? That was Gears of War for me. I remember wanting to play this one when I was a kid. I'll never forget the commercial for it, with Mad World playing over the top. I think it's my favorite gaming commercial of all time, and it was for a series I had never started until now. Mostly because I didn't have an Xbox until, I believe, 2009, and I just never got around to getting into it. You know, just how life goes. However, now, I want to play the rest of the franchise as soon as possible. Speaking of that franchise, I actually always thought that the games were based on comic books that preceded them, but when doing some minor research for the video, I found out I was wrong, like most things in my life, and Gears of War was released as a game in 2006, developed by Epic Games and published by Microsoft Game Studios, so subsequently was released on the Xbox 360, so sorry PlayStation bros, but that is actually changing soon, and there's other cover shooters that existed prior to this game, such as Kill Switch. I've even seen Metal Gear games be thrown into this. However, I'm yet to play either of those, so I can't really speak to it, but it seems like many people give credit to Gears for bringing massive popularity to the subgenre of shooters. Obviously, this game led to the long-standing franchise of sequels and spin-offs and Tactics and Judgment, as well as books starting to be written in 2008, and also comic books being written that same year as well. So obviously, this game has been received extremely well. I don't think anyone doesn't know that, pretty much, so where the hell have I been? Up until this point, I think Resident Evil 4 is my favorite game that I streamed on the channel, but this might have taken its spot. And speaking of Resident Evil 4, there's actually quite a few elements in this game that I was saying reminded me of RE4 while I was streaming it, which I then found out it was a strong inspiration for the gameplay of Gears, so it's cool to see that it translated well. Starting with the over-the-shoulder camera and third-person perspective, all the way to smart positioning to play the field of battle in a meticulous way. I really love how Gears is set up in kind of a 1, enter the room, 2, see available cover, 3, enemies enter and adjust accordingly. It's not just non-stop run and gun. You have to actually think it out and react based on what new enemies enter the battlefield, and also respond accordingly based on what direction they enter from. I'm not saying the gameplay itself is entirely similar, but there were certain sequences that did remind me of RE4. For instance, the Berserkers reminded me of the Garrador enemies in RE4, both being blind and having to kite them around the room, and ultimately just leading to very intense moments. I think you could even say the games are both heavy on inventory management, but in different ways. I like how you have to choose what you want your repertoire to be in Gears, deciding, for instance, to hold that sniper or go with the torque bow. It's pretty refreshing coming from something like Doom the Dark Ages, where you have decision paralysis because there's so many weapons to choose from on your weapon wheel. But, okay, anyway, that's enough for similarities between Resident Evil 4 and Gears of War. The game starts you out with a choice I don't enjoy in games, which is the option for multiple difficulty levels. If you've been here a while, you know I prefer something like Dark Souls or Ratchet & Clank with New Game Plus, or just unlocking harder difficulties after the initial playthrough. I just want to play the way that the developers want me to experience my first playthrough, how they intended. So I ended up taking casual for my first playthrough. My brain equated casual to normal and hardcore to the more challenging mode, but actually hardcore is the normal mode. I would have known this if I looked at the achievements, but I wanted to go in spoiler-free, and oftentimes when you look at achievements, you can ruin some story elements. So off-stream, I did beat the game again on hardcore, because I don't want to be a little bitch. I recorded the final boss battle here for you, just because I knew some of you would come at me in the Discord. I think I might give Insane a run for its money if I'm bored on a weekend or something. You never know. It's nice to have in my back pocket. Which brings me to something that is also quite refreshing. I'd say the game is somewhere around 8 or 9 hours to complete. It maintains a fresh feeling throughout and does not overstay its welcome like many games of today. There's something to be said for the ability to decide, you know what, I'm going to smash through a playthrough of Gears of War this weekend. A tight character-driven story with stylized character models and a campaign with unique gameplay. Nice.
Nice.
I enjoy how the game opens up. The game wastes no time hurling players into its gritty, war-torn world. You're dropped into the boots of Marcus Fenix, a disgraced soldier, freed from a prison cell to rejoin the fight against the Locust Horde. And immediately my interest is piqued. It says 14 years from E-Day to start the game, but how long is Marcus in prison? What did he do? Why does Dom say Hoffman pardoned all the other prisoners, but we're still here? Are they just getting to me now, or was I going to be left to die? There's so many questions to be answered within seconds. There's no slow build-up or lengthy exposition. Within minutes, you're navigating the ruins of a shattered city as the chaos of an ongoing war is unfolding around you. It sets a tone by giving you Marcus, a character who seems to have a complicated past, within the broader desperation of humanity's struggle on the planet of Sarah. This immediate plunge into the action, paired with a story already in full swing, instantly gets you hooked. You can also feel that the gameplay is going to be very heavy and, well, involve taking cover. Duh. I like how it's done. When you're on a wall, you can set up to roll out from cover, transfer to another closely located wall for cover, or go right into a crouch sprint, as well as being able to both peek and shoot or just blindly fire. Also, the active reload system is extremely satisfying. Performing it correctly rewards the player with a faster reload time and potentially an increased damage output for a short time period. You need to initiate the reload and then hit the reload button again within the highlighted bar. Timing it correctly within the white part is called a perfect active reload, and Marcus will say nice. And this gives about an 8% increase in damage for the bullets that were reloaded into the gun. Mastering the mechanics of cover and reloading is the gameplay loop of the game. Eventually you do reach extraction after being freed from prison. You're advised that you have joined Delta, and this little guy asks if you're the Marcus Fenix from the Battle of Aspho Fields.
Hey, are you the Marcus Fenix? The one who fought at Aspho Fields?
Yep.
Wow, cool!
Not really.
More questions. Here's where we learn of the story we have been cast into. Marcus and his recently joined squad, the Delta team, are tasked with a critical mission to map out the Locust's underground tunnels and pave the way for a light mass bomb, which is humanity's kind of last hope to turn the tide against the Locust in this war. And in order to do so, Hoffman is asking you to place a resonator within the planet that can map out the tunnel systems, aka the home of the Locust. Kind of a high-stakes objective, setting the stage for the game, and you pick up right where Hoffman has lost touch with the Alpha team, who was previously tasked with the objective. We quickly see this won't be an easy task. The Locusts are putting up a heavy battle, appearing to be led by this big boy we later learn is named General Rom. I think that's how you say it. And some lady we can hear doing the voice over for the dialogue. Fenix looks pissed off already, like he wants to step up right here, but our buddy pulls us away, reminding us our mission is to find Alpha and the resonator. Then we learn that Team Alpha isn't holding up so well, and we get introduced to this berserker I mentioned in the beginning of the video. And I love how this part was done. You can hear the berserker, and you have to kind of tread lightly because it feels like it can pop out of anywhere, and well, it can. I tried shooting it like a moron at first. It's kind of cool that the game has like puzzle mechanics of sorts, where you need to lead it out into the courtyard to use a very cool weapon, the Hammer of Dawn, which is a satellite-based laser system orbiting high above Sarah, and it's capable of unleashing pinpoint devastation. The weapon is a nice touch, kind of reminds the player that our band of characters aren't in this alone, and it's all hands on deck to fight back. You'll have to use the hammer a few times throughout the playthrough to eliminate some other tougher enemies. And you now have the main characters together, as Alpha and Delta form up to form a merged Delta team. And they seem like a relatable bunch of guys. The banter between them kind of reminds me of being in a party chat with a group of friends back in the day.
Oh, what? You hang out with Stranded?
I don't hang out, dickwad. I'm looking for somebody.
Shut up, Baird. Keep moving. What? What'd I say? I'm sure there's some nice Stranded. Maybe not. These guys are almost as big as you, Cole. Yeah, almost.
We have Marcus Fenix, who you play as, Damon Baird, Dominic, Dom Santiago, and Augustus Coltrane Cole. You can command your group to attack, cease fire, and regroup, although I don't really know how necessary this is. I used it maybe a couple of times. Perhaps it's more use on the insane difficulty. In multiplayer, during co-op mode, the second player controls Dom, I should note. In addition to the main gameplay, you'll have to perform some other neat little things that keep the game fresh, like providing cover from Krill using a spotlight, driving and shooting down enemies from vehicles, and I thought this light beam part on the back of the vehicle was to take down the Krill was pretty cool. These things remind me of the movie Pitch Black. Driving around the roads during this part also really shows how the entire planet seems to be ravaged. So once we get the resonator, we have to enter underground, where we get to fight this massive enemy called a Corpser, which acts as a little mini boss of sorts. It's one of the only larger enemies we get to face, which I kind of like, by the way. It's cool to see some enemies in this game that you don't actually get to fight. Adds a little bit of extra allure to the sequels, where you hope you'll eventually encounter all the enemies and battles in future games. Wrecked them. So yeah, I prompted. Yeah, I kind of figured that after my shooting wasn't doing anything. Oh man, he's back around too. Dude, he's a badass, dude. You do ultimately end up getting to the emulsion facility and place the resonator. However, you then quickly find out that the resonator didn't work or wasn't nearly strong enough. Hoffman tells us we would need 100 resonators in order to successfully map out the tunnels. But luckily for us and the story, Baird was able to hack into whatever this thing is, and it had significant data of the tunnels coming from Fenix's father's house. So you take a chopper on home and get it.
Those are locust tunnels, Fenix. You know I'm right.
Where did you find that?
It popped on screen when I hacked in. The files were there.
Fenix, report!
Anya, are you seeing this?
Affirmative. And Private Baird is correct. That geobot is showing more tunnel data than the resonator.
Oh, this is bullshit.
Give me a 0 point on that data.
Sir, well, it came from East Barricade Academy. From his father's house, specifically.
Whose father?
Sergeant Fenix, sir.
You think you can still find your way back home, Phoenix?
Yes, sir.
Reroute those choppers, Lieutenant.
Takes a lot of battling to get into the basement of the house. And also Marcus's dad this guy had to be loaded. His house has massive, giant wine cellar. I don't know, kind of just more questions. I want to look up what everything means, but I also don't want to spoil a bunch. So there's so much data involved with this tunnel system here that it can't be uploaded remotely. So we need to buy Jack, the little robot dude, some time to get it all downloaded himself.
I'm bringing you the data now. Stand by.
Anya, what are we looking at?
They're locust tunnels. Doesn't seem possible. There can't be these tunnels. It's a honeycomb. The planet's crushed nest is riddled with them. They're everywhere.
I take it that qualifies as enough data to get the job done?
More than enough.
Then let's get out of here. Anya, start pulling the data.
I can't. The files are too big for this bandwidth.
Then we'll take them with us. Jack, download this data.
Confirmed, but it'll take a while.
Guys, there's still a war going on up here? Get up here, will ya?
Give us your location.
Front of the house, second story. Hurry up.
We're on our way. Anya, keep us posted on Jack.
To escape, we have to go through what are my favorite enemies, I think, in the game, boomers. They literally just walk around with massive amounts of health, yelling boom before they shoot their boom shot. But look out, though, because those missiles can take you out pretty quickly. You do eventually make a narrow exit with Jack in a little sequence that reminds me of the old T-Rex chase scene from Jurassic Park. A huge Brumac enemy emerges, and like I was saying earlier, I actually think it's cool you don't face it in combat. The Brumac's initial appearance is more about awe and terror than combat, in a way. It's kind of like a looming threat. A reminder that the Locusts have horrors beyond what we've already tackled. Now I'm wondering what else we're going to see when I play Gears of War 2. And that sums up Act 4, and you get thrown right into the end of the game, which consists of us boarding a train and making our way through it until we encounter General Rom again. Dude, this looks sick.
Let's do this.
Marcus, you've got to drop that data right now!
You still have it?
Oh yeah, I do. Right here.
The final boss battle is interesting, throwing all aspects of the gameplay at you that you've learned. Staying under the lights to keep Rom's attacking Krill away from you, and using cover to hide from his devastating weapon. I chose to disperse the Krill with the torque bow, then get some rounds off until making my way down to the Troika to finish him off. I'd say this final boss battle was more about the overall presentation rather than the difficulty. It looked really badass, and it's a gaming moment I'll remember for the rest of my life. And then Marcus uses the critical data from Jack, what a good trusty little robotic companion, to unleash the light mass bomb. The devastating weapon tears through the Locusts' underground strongholds and delivers a crippling blow to their forces. It was pretty satisfying to watch the bomb detonate, coupled with the game's gritty visuals. Makes the moment a very good payoff for the campaign. And Marcus's resolve shines through and comes off as someone who just gets shit done no matter the odds. But just when you think victory is secured, the game throws you a cliffhanger. The Locust Queen, who's shrouded in mystery in this game, delivers a chilling monologue hinting at a potential devastating counterattack.
They do not understand. They do not know why we wage this war. Why we cannot stop. Will not stop. Why we will fight and fight and fight until we win or we die. And we are not dead yet.
For cryptic words leave you questioning everything. What's their next move? How will Delta Squad survive the coming storm? Once again, more questions. Gears of War doesn't just end, it sets the stage for an epic saga that's still going on today. So, if you enjoyed my ramblings on an almost 2-decade-old game, I'd love if you dropped a like on this small channel, and I'll see you in the next one, and take care and peace.